All right, hey guys. Just gonna go over some factoring factoring review stuff from grade 10. It's a long time ago. I'm sure some of you have forgotten. Yeah. So common factors. First thing we're gonna do is we want to look at each term. So look at this term, look at this term, and look at this term. And if you forget what terms are, they're just the things that are separated by a plus or a minus sign, right? So we have three terms here. And what I'm looking for is what's common between them. That's why it's called common factors. So I look at this one and I say, well, if I look at the numbers first, I've got 15, 5, and 25. Well, it looks like 5 would go into each of those. So what I'm going to do is pull out 5 as a common factor. Then I'm going to look at the W's, and I'm going to take out the lowest number of those. So the lowest exponent that I have up here, or degree. So that's this one, 2. So I can take out 5w squared. Next step is I'm going to put a bracket, and then I'm going to write everything I have left. So 5w squared is what I pulled out. Now I need to write what I have left after I pulled those out. So this was 15. I pulled out a 5, and when I say pulled out a 5, I really mean I divided by 5. So what I have left is 3. 3w and 2. Because I had w to the 4, then I pulled out w to the 2, so now I have just w to the 2 left there. Then we go plus. Now I'm looking at this one. I pulled out that 5, so that 5's gone. It's turned into a 1, really. It's 5 divided by the 5 I took out, so it's a 1, so it's pretty much gone. I took out a w squared as well, so it's gone too. So you might be like, okay, they're both gone. I have a 0. Wrong. You do not have a 0. You have a 1, because we divided it out. They ended up, I went 5 divided by 5 was 1. I went w squared divided by w squared, that's 1. Sorry, I just had Tanner come in, and I lost where I was at. Anyway, yeah, this wouldn't be a 0. This would be a 1, right? Okay, and then moving on to the next one, minus. And then 25, I divided the 5 out of that, so 25 divided by the 5 I took out, I'm left with 5. I took a w squared out. This was w cubed, so all I have left is 1w. And there, we factored that out. So that's it. Moving on. So I'll just do a couple more of these, maybe fairly quick. So what we're going to do again, we're going to look at each one of these terms, and we see, okay, I've got, as far as the numbers are concerned, I've got 18, 24, 54. Well, start thinking about, okay, what's common to all those? What can I divide them all by? If you're not sure about this, don't be like, well, I don't know. Check it out with your calculator. Just try a few numbers with all of them to see what you can divide 54 by, 24, and 18. In this case, it's 6. So I'm going to write down 6. The other thing that I can take out, I'm moving on now to the x's. I'm looking at the smallest power. It's x squared. So I'm going to take an x squared out, because it's common to all of them. Then bracket, now I write what I have left. So 18 divided by 6 was 3. I have x squared left because I took out an x squared. Plus 24 divided by the 6 I took out is 4. I no longer have that x squared there because it came out. It's here now. Minus 54 divided by the 6 I took out is 9. And now there was x to the 3. I took x to the 2 out. All I have left there is 1x. So that's it. All right, next one. So looking at this one, again, I might not know right away what goes into all of them. It might not jump out at you. Try it with your calculator a bit. 12 goes into all 3 of these. So I'm going to write down 12. And now I've got x's and y's. What I need to do is look at just the x's first and see, okay, which of these x's has the smallest degree. That's this one, because it's really x to the 1, right? Sorry, I got a cold. I'm going to sneeze. All right, I'm okay. All right, it's going to be x to the 1, or just x. Then I'm pulling out. Now I move on. I look at the y's. So we've got y, y, and y. The smallest one is this one. It's only to the 1. So again, all I can take out is a single y. bracket. Now I write what I have left. So 36 divided by 12, that was 3. And now that was x squared, but I took one x out, so what I'm left with is just 1x. Y to the 4, I took out a y, so all I have left now is y to the 3. Plus 60 divided by 12 is 5. It was x to the 3, I took an x out, so now it's just x squared. The y was a single y, and I took a single y out, so it's actually gone. I shouldn't have that at all. Minus 84 divided by 12 is 7. And then this was an x, just a single one, but I took a single x out, so it's gone. And now y to the 3, I took a single y out, so now it's y squared. And that's it. All right, difference of squares. So you guys can go ahead and just read those ones. So binomial terms, yada, yada, yada. I'll show you, I think a few examples will be more helpful. So difference of squares are going to be these examples. And what they are is it has to be in this form. There has to be a minus sign. That won't work if this was an addition. And the other thing that has to happen is everything needs to be a perfect square. So you can see that 4 is a perfect square, 9 is a perfect square, and x squared is a perfect square. They're all perfect squares. They need to be, or we can't do this little trick. And what the little trick is I'm going to make 2 sets of brackets like that. And since it's x squared, what I'm going to do is write an x and an x. Because I know it's going to have to be, because when I FOIL this thing afterward, it would be x times x. And in front of those x's, I'm going to put what the square root of 4 was. So 2 and 2. And then lastly, 9, the square root of 9 is 3. So a 3 is going to go here, and a 3 is going to go here. And then all you have to do is write a minus sign in one and a plus sign in the other. It'll always be a minus and a plus. They'll always, yeah, there has to be. And that's what we call the difference of squares. And so I'm just going to show you how that would work to FOIL that out. So just that going in reverse is what I mean. So if you had 2x multiplied by that 2x, and then that one times that one, this times this, and then this times this, you can see that these two are conjugates of each other, right? We talked about conjugates in the last unit. The one's a minus, one's a plus. So if you did that, and I won't do it here, but what you end up with is 4x squared minus 9. So you can see that the 9 came from the 3 and the 3. And that's why the minus sign has to be there, right? Just because one of these is a negative. Oh, crap. 3. One of these was a negative, and one of those is a positive. So that's why it's a negative 9 up there. And the 4x squared, that came from the original, so 2x times 2x at the beginning. So it was really just this and this times this and this. And then the middle terms ended up canceling with each other, right? If you were going to do the full FOIL thing. All right, next one. Actually, you know what? I'm going to skip that one. No, I'll do that. Sorry. Okay, so probably the easiest way to do this one is going to be to factor out what we can. So take a common factor out of both of these. And the common factor... Okay, Tanner keeps coming in, so I keep forgetting where I was at. All right, so like I said, we got to factor out 16 out of these ones, or we should be the easiest way to do this. So I'm going to factor out, so 16. And I can't factor out an x or a y because it's not common to both, right? So 16 is all I can get out of this thing. So I'm going to factor out 16. Now what I'm left with is just x to the 4 minus 64 divided by the 16 that I factored out is just 4. And then y squared. Next thing we're going to do is I'm just going to write the 16 again because it's pulled out. It's just kind of its own thing now. But what I'm really kind of like looking at is this now. I'm looking at this, and I'm going to rewrite that as 2 sets of brackets. And it's going to be, for the first one, I'm going to write x squared. And on this side, x squared. I know it has to be because like it's got to, when I multiply them together, they have to make x to the 4. So that's where those two come from. And then one's got to be minus, one's got to be plus for my difference of squares to work. And now this side has to be 2 and 2. They need to be to make up my 4 that I need, right? And then the last one, I need to make up y squared, so that's going to be y and y. And then that's it. Alright, I'm going to end that video. Should I end the video there? Maybe I'll do these to keep it kind of consistent. Alright, so let's do these ones. Alright, so I know the fractions kind of freak people out. It's not a big deal. We're going to do the exact same thing, but if it's we're still looking for perfect squares, like the 9's a perfect square and the 64 is a perfect square. But it just needs to stay on the bottom if it's on the bottom. So what I mean by that is we're still just going to make our brackets. So bracket, bracket. Still, since this is x squared, I'm going to have an x here. And on this side. I'm going to put something in front of it, and it has to be something times something that multiplies to 1 over 9. Well, I know what that is. That's going to be 1 over, I'm going to redo that. That's going to be 1 over 3. 1 over 3. So, always just the square root of what the bottom one is too. So just 1 over 3x, 1 over 3x. So that's going to get me to this part of the question. Now I need something that's going to get me to this part of the question. It's still going to be, one's going to be a negative and one's going to be a positive. But now I just need the square root of 64. So it's got to be 8 and 8. And that's it. Looking at this one, we'll do the same thing. Alright, so I just wrote this out again because I kind of hate writing off these typed ones. So we're going to do the same thing. So I'm going to put bracket, bracket. And I need something to get me to x to the 4. So that's going to be x squared, and x squared would get me to that. And then I need in front of it two numbers multiplied together that are going to get me to 9 over 49. Well, stop doing that. Alright. Well, I know the square root of 9 is 3, so just keep the 3 on the top. I know the square root of 49 is 7, so 7 on the bottom. And that's it. Don't be freaked out by the fractions. Just do them individually. Just, you know the square root of that, you know the square root of that, they go in front. Again, one has to be negative, one has to be positive. Doesn't matter which one. You could do either or. And then again, I need to get now to this part. That's going to be, well, square root of 25 is 5. Square root of 81 is 9. Oh, and put it over here too. 5 over 9. And that's how you do that one. Alright, I'm going to end the video there. And I'm going to create another one here for you guys too. So, see you in the next video.